Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Time for another midday live edition. And yes, this one's special. It's the 10K party. Guys, man, I gotta say, these last couple of weeks, this last month more specifically, what a ride it's been for anybody that's new to crypto, guys. This has been extreme, but it's been fun. It's been a pretty wild ride, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here on this another edition of Live with Node Investor. And today's going to be a special day. I'm going to do some giveaways. Hey, you guys weren't expecting that. So for those of you that joined, thank you. And we're going to do some giveaways. I'll mention that here a little later so I don't get crazy on the comments just yet. So I want to keep it clean for now. But we'll get going here. So let's do a quick recap of where we have come. I did a video probably maybe a week and a half ago. And I said 10K next or 7K next. And to be honest, I mean, let's be real. It could have gone either way. But I was leaning bullish, and I'm glad I was on that side of the camp. And I'm glad the bulls have had the momentum that they have had here over the last couple of days. And so it's been a good couple of days. I did a video yesterday. Now, I don't want to rain on the parade and be the bear, but, you know, it's just my perspective. You just gotta look at both sides all the time. You know, look at the bull side, the bear case. I think the longer term picture is certainly looking better here with the daily chart looking as strong as it's starting to. You can see the 10 EMAs finally turning the corner here, starting to head north here a little bit. We're breaking some good, continue to break some resistance levels. And the fact that we've kind of had that sharp rally off the lows and just kind of meandered for a few days is actually very healthy. That's much better than seeing this straight V bottom that would have taken, if it would have been a straight V bottom that just went straight up to 11 or 12K, not quite as healthy, because then you need the sharper pullback to make sure that that was real. With this, these little bit of a support levels that just kind of continue to build their way up are much stronger, because if we do get the pullbacks, and we will, it's just a matter of where do they stop, these floors become much stronger to hold any type of pullbacks. And so I like this action. I'm feeling pretty good longer term now. Near term, we've had a good run. You got to acknowledge that. And so I posted a video yesterday, and I'm going to recap on that here, just kind of share my thoughts a little bit more, expand on that, and then show where we're going to potentially look at next. And so really quick, on the 4-hour chart, this is on Bitstamp. I'll cycle through some of the other exchanges. I mean, you can see how strong, like the volume on Coinbase, just crazy strong. That's GDAX. There's Binance, very strong volume on Binance. And so it's a little bit mixed, but all around, it's very healthy action. Now, what I was looking at here, let me take the RSI off first. This is the 4-hour chart. This is using Bitstamp. And, we had that nice run. We put in a series of higher lows here. And then we kind of just went sideways, started putting a little bit of a base. And we ran up to just over 9K, right? And we created that initial first top. And then we started to pull back pretty good. But we found a low right around that 8K mark. That became the new floor. And we rallied again. And we came in just below the prior top. Now, there was a case to be made that, hey, maybe that was going to be a double top. And I also mentioned that, hey, this is probably a good cup and handle formation. And what I was looking for were two things. One, the fact that this was a pause after a very strong rally. We went from 6K to 9K relatively quickly. And then we started to kind of hold that 8K zone. And this second top came in just shy of the first one, and it's very textbook example of the psychology right behind this. So traders, anybody that's kind of playing the markets, they're going to see the next big resistance point, and that was right at 9K. And so it's a little bit of game theory. Hey, I'm going to sell before the next person. And so that's why it tends to peter out just before. And that tends to happen on double tops, as well as some of these cup and handles and the different patterns we see. And that's just some of the psychology. But the fact that this wasn't a sharp double top, right? It wasn't one of these like straight down and then straight up really quickly. If it were that, I would have been a lot more cautious. But the fact that it was a little bit more constructive, we started to see some volume coming in as it started around the right side of this cup. I was looking for this type of handle formation. And I mean, we don't see this very often where it's that clean. And this was just a very nice example of that. And then sure enough, on the breakout, huge volume came in, and then here we go. And so a couple of ways to do that is how far does it go from here, right? And so you guys know I'm a big proponent of support and resistance and all that fun stuff. There's a couple of ways to do it. You can do fib extensions. One way is a technical measured move. So you take the depth of the cup, you go up to the top of the right side there, and then you extend that move out, and you say, okay, if it breaks out, how high could it go? And look at that. It takes you to just above 10K. And then you say, does that line up with anything else? And that did happen to line up with a pretty good little consolidation zone back in here. And so that lines up with that. And then we zoom out a little bit and look at the daily chart, and you can see the fact that that prior floor that broke, that gave way to the big pullback, is right around that 10.7K mark. And so just above the current zone. And so I was looking at this and just saying, okay, that's a pretty good cup and handle. This is probably a good place to pause if it decides to break out. And so that was my near-term target. Now I'm talking trading, which you guys know I do active trading and swing trading and stuff. And so that's kind of my profit taking place, right? Now, does it mean it pulls back? Does it mean it just crashes from here? Absolutely not. It could pull back, but it doesn't mean it's going to go straight down. And so what I'm looking for now is, let me go back to the 1 hours. I was looking at a couple of big volume reversals right here at the top. You saw that one there. You see this one here that just happens to correlate with some pretty good volume. So I'm getting cautious. I'm protecting the gains. I did cash out on a little bit, and I'm hoping we might not see it. The FOMO is kicking in, but I'm hoping to see something like this, right? Where you see a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a consolidation. Let this digest some of the recent move we saw in the last couple of days. And if we do that, that would be great. A couple of 4-hour bars, right, where we kind of just go sideways like we did here for 12 hours. That would just set up some more room, some more base from it to run from. Now, on the RSI, it is a little bit high, but in crypto, they can go much higher. And so it could go higher. And the level I'm looking at here, if you go to the daily chart, I mean, we're RSI 51. That certainly has room to run. And so the level I'm looking at is, hey, maybe we pause for a few hours and then we go to 10.7, 11 or something, right? And so you got to look at both sides. The alternative is, okay, well, let's say we pull back here. Now what, right? What floors do we look at on the downside? So we go back to the 1 hour. If we pull back, I mean, the first thing is this trend is still in place. So you gotta acknowledge that the fact that this trend line has not broken, and that's been a very solid. I mean, that's you can't expect more than that, right? Just a straight 45-degree angle going up for a few days. I mean, that's just very nice. And so if it starts to turn, there's a couple of ways to look at it. First, strong support is going to be the breakout point. And so around that 8,900 level or so, 9K, that would be strong support if it pulls back that far. And if you zoom out a little bit, that happens to be the 10 EMA on the daily. So maybe we see a little bit of a pullback there. Near term, right? Anywhere in between that could serve as a base. You know, that point there, that point there. So 9,300, 9,600. So there's a few levels to look at as far as potential pullbacks. Let's do a fib on this. Now, fib off of a breakout, it's usually not a strong way to do it. You want to take it from like a low point. But you know, the 618 takes you back to about 9,500. That's another way to look at it. But if we do a full retracement of the whole down, let's say we finally get the big test from the lows to the highs, and I'm not saying this is the high, but if it peaks out here, a full retracement, first level is 8,600, next level is 7,500, and 7,500 is a strong level to look at because that's this prior support here before it started really get going, and 8K was a good level. So those are the levels I'm looking at if it really starts to look like it wants to pull in. And that would be a key test, because there's still a lot of people, and rightly so, I can get it. There's a lot of people doubting this bull trend, right? It's a dead cat bounce. It's just a counter trend rally. And those are very valid arguments. If you look at the weekly chart, you can't yet say that the weekly downtrend is broken, right? It's certainly too early to tell. We're bouncing right into that first 10 EMA, and that happens to correlate with the downtrend. And so you can understand that perspective, right? The skeptics of this recent rally. I have a lot of reasons to believe it's bullish because of the volume and some of the other action we're seeing. But that second test, if we get that pullback and then we see a strong rally from a higher low, then that's going to be the, hopefully, will be the convincing secondary higher low that says, okay, maybe we're starting to form a low here around this 8, 9, 10K range from which to start building a new accumulation zone, and then we start to go higher, right? It's too early to say that's going to happen yet. We got to wait for it to play out, but those are the scenarios I'm looking for on the downside. Markets ebb and flow. You know, they go up, they go down. We have strong rallies. I mean, look at this rally from this first pretty big pullback down here, peak to peak. That was 42%. That's pretty good. Now this rally has been much stronger. We're already up, at 1.72%. So we've had a good couple of weeks, no doubt. Hasn't even really been that. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days. Not even 2 full weeks here. And so it's been a nice trading for sure. Now the internals in the market, some of the things I'm looking at here. If you look at BTC versus some of these other names here, now Litecoin, we had a nice breakout. I'm liking Litecoin, but near term, a lot of the alts are doing, not all of them, there's certainly some good exceptions, but a lot of the alts are kind of doing one of these, right, where they're just not keeping up with BTC, right? They're pulling in. BTC is just moving strong. Now, if you look at the USD pair, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it actually looks pretty good, right? Nice breakout, pulling right back to the moving average, pulling back to the prior resistance points. So it just needs to sit tight because it has such a strong move. But versus BTC, they're certainly underperforming here last day with Bitcoin being so strong. Ethereum, another one, near term, definitely a little bit oversold near term. But you can see here just in the last couple of days, and then this really accelerated here today. But we're starting to find a little bit of a low. Let's see if it bounces here. But again, versus Bitcoin, kind of pausing, selling off a little bit here. Neo, not at similar story. And what you want to see is if Bitcoin is this strong, you'd like to see the alts outperforming like we had just a couple of days ago, right? Bitcoin was going up and the alts are doing even more. And so you were getting the double whammy there to the positive. You're not seeing that here in the last couple of days, which is another thing that's just keeping me cautious right now. It's like, okay, the alts aren't really confirming anymore. And maybe another thing to consider is there's a little bit of rotation. Let's say BTC decides to pause here and go sideways, and maybe we consolidate. And some of that flips back into these alts that have seen a little bit of a pullback here in the last day or so. That would be great. And so you got to keep that in mind. And a lot of these alts are kind of near-term oversold. And so would not be surprised to see a little bit of a bounce here in some of those names like Ethereum and Litecoin. So, but not everything is that bad. Look at VeChain, for example. VeChain has had a nice strong rally along with BTC and outperforming, right? So you can see, let me go VeChain, sorry about that. There it is. And so as Bitcoin has been strong, this has been even stronger breakout from a little point on the good. Finally taking out that downtrend line for the last, month and a half or so on VeChain. So looking very strong, recapturing that 10 EMA on the daily chart, starting to look like it finally found a low, volumes coming in. And so there are certainly those exceptions, and that's good because it kind of just shows that, hey, the market's getting bullish and starting to feel better after that crazy dip we've had over the last couple of weeks. So, all right. Let's see here. Now that I've rambled for a little bit, let me take a quick look at some of your comments. I've been reading them with one eye as I continue to read the charts. My connection is crap, huh? I hope nobody else is, maybe it is. Am I coming across like a robot here? Whoa. That's kind of funny. I wonder what, got a good mic, I promise. Let me check something here real quick. It's good now. Well, I apologize. I didn't do anything, so hopefully it's I don't know what's causing that. That's really crazy. I just got off of another live stream, and that one was coming across loud and clear. So not sure what else would be causing that. Let me check a couple more things here. Okay. Well, I apologize. I don't want to jump off this live stream just yet, so we will keep going, and hopefully, let me close out a couple other windows here on my other screen, and hopefully that clears it up. But otherwise, R2D2 it is. All right. Let's check it out, guys. Real quick here. Noteinvestor.com/training. If you're new here, if you're just getting to know me a little bit, I do offer a video analysis technical course. Obviously, I like the charts. It's what I like to talk about on my channel. It's what we do. I'll cover some other things from time to time, but it's very much technical analysis on the markets. And you can check it out, noteinvestor.com. If you're new to technical analysis, or if you want to get a better feel for it, $49. I don't try to advertise too much on my channel. I'm not going to talk about my proprietary alerts and other systems and training and blah, blah, blah. But I do have several other products that I do. I've got a private group, and I'm also working on some alerts. Man, maybe it is my connection. Look at this. So check it out, noteinvestor.com. I will be sending out a newsletter in the next day or so. But let me go to the giveaway. All right. You guys ready? Here we go. The first, well, not the first. I'm going to randomly select it. First giveaway, Litecoin. I'm going to split one LTC across 2 lucky people. Get ready. Get the addresses going, and I'm going to pick, because we are celebrating the BTC 10K party. Come on. Come on. Let's get those addresses going. I'm going to get my notes here going on the other page, so that way I can jot those addresses down, and as soon as I'm off, you should see it come through. Come on. Oh man, those comments are coming in fast. It's going to be really hard to keep this going. Let me see here. Hey, the last time I gave away some Litecoin, it was the when do we reach $100 billion market cap party. Man, that feels like so long ago. Oh. But you guys know I'm a fan of Litecoin. If you didn't know, this is my backstory on crypto. I got a technical background, but I also have a passion for finance, investing, obviously. And when I discovered crypto, I was like, this is amazing. And then I heard about mining, and I thought, wait a minute, you can print money, literally, well, kind of, right? And so I got into mining, and before I ever bought my first crypto, I mined Litecoin. That was my first crypto officially, was Litecoin. And then, from there, it transitioned into other things, and then I started investing it and trading it a little bit more actively. But yeah, Litecoin. Back in the day when Litecoin was $4, this was during the first, after the first big big pump, the whole Mt. Gox debacle. Not a lot has changed since then, though. I got to tell you, GPUs and all that fun stuff, still hard to find. But I sold my rig ultimately and pretty much got back what I put into it. So all the Litecoin was pure profits, minus the energy expense, of course. But it was fun. It was a good endeavor. I don't do any mining now. Not that I am against mining, but I just don't. I focus more on this side of things. So, okay, that's enough Litecoin addresses. I've got enough to pick from, and we'll keep going. I'm gonna throw out maybe another coin here later. Let's do a couple charts, and I don't want to do a super long live stream today, but let's do a few charts, and we'll go from there. Hopefully, I don't sound like CP3O anymore. All right, let's go here. A couple of names I wanted to point out here. Let's look at the biggies here first. We were talking a Ripple. Now, I was liking Ripple here, and I did trade it here early last week, not on Binance, because I think Binance was down when I took that trade. It was on Bittrex. But Ripple had that nice breakout off the lows, traded that, and then it kind of took profits. And then I thought it was setting up again here. In the last couple of days, it was putting in like almost a little bit of a double bottom test here. And then yesterday, broke out from that, found a good low, really rallied. I mean, that volume that came in was just super strong, was looking very nice. The USD chart also was setting up really good and broke out. And so what I was looking at was, can we break out above, this little level here? And then it just, not that one, sorry. Can we break out above this little level here? And then it kind of just fizzled out versus BTC, just wasn't keeping up. So a lot of names are doing that right now. And you can see they had that big pop and just kind of faded. But longer term, I'm kind of looking at the chart saying this is actually not too bad. It's trying to find a little bit of a low here. You can see it had that breakout, trying to retest that moving average. So we'll see if it can turn the corner here and keep moving higher. But Ripple was one I was watching here. I mentioned Omise Go in my last video. Saw a pretty good breakout, but unfortunately that one has not kept pace with the BTC. But it's not all bad because you see this downtrend was broken. And then if you zoom in a little bit here, the horizontal resistance line here going across, this is probably like the 150 area here on the BTC chart. Nice breakout, good volume came in, just pulling back right to the breakout point. And so this might not be a bad secondary entry point. I'm going to be keeping an eye on Omise Go here, see if we can start to round the corner here and start to see a little bit of a bounce. If we do, that will certainly help this daily chart because you can see it's basically right back to that moving average, retesting on lower volume than the breakout day. And so if we get a little bit of a wick forming here on this daily candle, then that's going to look pretty positive here on the longer term chart. So I'd be watching this one still. Another one I mentioned, what was the other one I was going to look at here? Lisk. Lisk was one that the daily chart still looks really good. I mean, it's just kind of stair-stepping its way up. One of the stronger looking charts versus BTC here in the last couple of months. You zoom in a little bit, it's much choppier, right? There's the 1 hour. I did take a shot on Lisk, but got whipsawed out of this. I was just kind of keeping a tighter stop. Where I have the line here was the level I was looking at for a breakout point. I had a tighter stop just below in and around this area here and got shook out, but I didn't get back in. I'm kind of waiting. This was a sell back into BTC, so I'm not complaining. I mean, that shook me out there. No big deal. It's just part of trading. And but I'm still watching the bigger picture, right? This one still looks really good from a broader perspective. So if we can start to see a breakout above that 320 zone or so, could continue higher. RSI looks like it wants to. Everything's just kind of lining up on this one. So I'd still be watching Lisk. It still looks pretty good all around. NAV. Let's take a look at NAV. And I do like NAV, by the way. I like the project. I think it's a good one to consider longer term. NAV here. This is NAV Bittrex. So Sorry, guys, I'm reading the comments. I'm over here trying to keep up, trying to talk, look at charts, read comments at the same time. Sorry about that. But Nav here, a couple of things that I'm watching here. It's really on the 1 hour here, near term, it's right at this key support level. And you can argue that, hey, this is a little bit of a descending triangle. Not a huge one, but you know, it's kind of there, right? The trend is there. So I'd still be waiting on this one personally. I'd be watching for a turnaround. You know, it's looking like it wants to bounce off the support, but it's right there on the floor versus BTC. So let's see if we can get a little bit of a bounce on NAV first. I do like it though. Smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. All right. Appreciate the feedback, man. Appreciate the comments. BTC dominance is 36%. Any thought on that? You know, that's a good question. We don't talk about it as much as we used to anymore. Will we ever see BTC dominance back at the highs that it was? I don't think so, right? I think the cap for BTC dominance continues to drop. We saw it pop over, you know, a couple months ago, and it went as high as I think like mid 60s, and that's really right. I would be shocked if it continues much higher than that ever, just because some of these other platforms are starting to mature a little bit more. Things like Ethereum, obviously, are holding their dominance in other names. So, 36 it's a pretty good bounce. Could it continue higher? I think it could, but is it going to go to the 70s and the 80s like before? No, absolutely. I don't think so, especially not as the market continues to evolve this ecosystem and some of the alts become stronger. But it's had a good little bounce here, no doubt. So this is now, let me go. There was a couple other names I wanted to point out here. We just talked to VeChain. Oh yeah, Link has had a nice little run. Pulling in here so far, and it's so many of these alts are just doing this here where, you know, they had a little bit of a breakout a couple days ago, and then with Bitcoin kind of strong, they're not keeping up. And again, that's near term, guys. I'm talking very short term. A little bit of a cause for, you know, caution on my part in terms of being too aggressive here, especially since we've had the nice little run up. I'd like to see a little bit of a pause, little consolidation. I want it to go to 11 and to 12 tomorrow. But trust me, this is much healthier, much stronger action when it kind of just stair-steps its way higher and a little bit more constructive this way because it's more sustainable. And that's the main thing. We don't want this to just be a little fizzle out, pop and fade here, right? So I'd like to see some pausing action here, but because some of the alts are just kind of pulling in a little bit, kind of leads me to believe that we're due for a little pause. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see if we get some rotation if BTC decides to consolidate. Let's look at Ethereum Classic. That's been high on the list here with a lot of people considering the upcoming fork and the airdrop and all that fun stuff that we have going on. And I'll take a look at Z Classic next. So Ethereum Classic, again, this was one I was liking and was on this trade early on. I probably got out a little too early, but it's okay. Definitely did okay on the trade there, but it is pausing, it is consolidating, and it needed to. It had a huge run versus BTC on the USD side, even stronger. I mean, just off the lows, gave you this little bit of a pullback. This was my entry point, here at the lows, and just give you that nice run, but it's pausing here. So it's looking pretty good here. Nice little consolidation so far on the daily chart. It got a little extended near term. The moving average is just catching up. Volume's kind of getting quiet here. So nice little pause. And that pause just happened to correlate with some resistance points here and normal healthy action, in my opinion, right? Just a big run up, a little bit of a pullback, even stronger run up on volume. And so I would not be surprised to see this kind of maybe sit tight for another day or two around this $30 mark, give or take. And it could break out. I mean, this chart is still looking very strong on the daily. When you look at the big picture, that's been a nice move off the low, but the volume has been there. I know some of it is news driven or project driven. And so that's something you got to always keep in mind, just like Z Classic, right? There's the fork coming up. The chart still looks good. Probably will continue higher, in my opinion, going into the fork, but you just got to be cautious with those because it could be very much one of those sell the news scenario, and would not be surprised. We've seen it so many times in this space where there is just a news-driven event or upcoming change or something, and going into it or right after it, you do see some pretty decent pullback, and that's what I would expect to see on something like Z Classic. Now, the daily chart very strong after that big consolidation, huge volume breakouts, looking like it's pulling right back to the breakout point here. So this, if I was knowing nothing else about the upcoming fork and all that, I would say this is a very good secondary entry point following a breakout. And so it's what you want to see, the big volume breakout, the smaller volume pullback, and that just happens to correlate with the moving average. So all around, it's looking pretty good. On the 4-hour charts, even better, right? You see the big volume pop and kind of wanting to go sideways and consolidate around here. And so I'm looking at this one personally. It'll be shorter term. Probably wouldn't hold it to the fork, but I think we're going to see a little bit more upside prior to that fork. The Lightning Network, is it going to make a lot of alts drop? That's a very good question. And you have to consider a lot of these alts and some of these other projects, and for good reason, have come out because they want to solve problems that Bitcoin is not solving, right? They're going to be faster, or they're going to be private, or they're going to be this, or they're going to be that, right? Now, the platform is a little bit different, but some of the just straight currency coins that are, hey, we're going to be faster, we're going to be the point of sale coin and all that. Other than the names that maybe are a little bit more established, like Litecoin and Dash, you do have to think about that, right? Is Lightning Network and solving some of these other issues going to make those less relevant? What's their, to use the business terms, right? What's their market proposition? What's their differentiator, right? It's like, why this coin over something else, other than maybe some niche market uses or certain platforms like a video game or something, right? But the broader adoption, you do have to consider that. And I think Bitcoin is going to remain. I think it's going to continue to develop. I think they will, continue to fight the all around Bitcoin's dead and wall of worry, and just, it's going to be around. That's my opinion. I think it's going to stick. And so, yeah, it could be one of those where it causes some of the others. Will it impact Litecoin? Will it impact some of these other names? I don't think it'll be as strong of an impact on the bigger names. Something smaller, the smaller cap coins, yeah, probably. But I think we're going to see an ecosystem that's going to be very much multi-coin. And we're already seeing it, right? You're starting to see like Coinbase rolled out, hey, now you, instead of just Bitcoin, you can accept multiple cryptos through their plugins and stuff. And I think that's great. So stronger names, bigger market cap probably will be okay. Let's see here. Neo. So you guys know I like Neo. And, the daily USD chart of Neo looks very similar to some of these other names, right? I mean, different percents, but the pattern is very much the same, right? BTC has this. Let me flip back real quick to Ethereum, right? Ethereum USD has a similar pattern, right? You can just see the pattern here off the lows, kind of breaking out. And so they all look similar to different percentages, but the same overall as their Litecoin, definitely one of the stronger. If I had to pick one of the big three, it'd probably go Litecoin for sure. But back to Neo. So USD chart certainly looks okay, right? There's something, I mean, it looks fine. It's just kind of consolidating here versus BTC, again, just kind of sitting tight right now, trying to pull back a little bit, not holding up as much as I would have liked, but I still like Neo. I think it's all around looking okay. Again, it had that huge run early this year and late last year, so you got to remember that. Still consolidating some of that move, and RSI continues to drift lower. We are now around 40, 47. I think it can go to 40 or so, and maybe that's the catalyst for it to kind of set up a new base and then start heading higher versus BTC. All right, let's see here. Just scrolling. Sorry about the radio silence. You're all in on BitConnect. Man, that's a value play if I've ever seen one. Poet. Let's do that one. That was one I was watching. Oil was actually looking pretty good here earlier. So I was liking this one. It came on my radar with some alerts that I'm working with, and this was the first big pop, and it's so far just continues to accumulate, show some nice volume patterns, and I'm liking the way this one looks. Now zooming in, it's certainly a little choppier than most. I mean, if you look at the range here, right, this is a 10% range over a few hours, and so it's a little bit choppier, harder to trade if you're trading it. But if you're looking at it longer term, I think it's finally rounding out a pretty good base here. Volume is really starting to come in here over the last few days, and it's looking really strong here. Definitely has broken that downtrend that it was in for some time. So all around, I'm liking this one here, and I'm keeping an eye on it. I'd be certainly watching this one, especially it's last few days has been giving you a slight outperform versus BTC. So Poet, it's a good one. Tron, let's look at Tron. Man, the pullback continues for Tron. And so big picture first, right? This is the daily following that insane move we saw. It's still consolidating that, still digesting that, but it's trying to find a low here near term. Let me go here. And I'm also seeing some positive divergences on some of the near term charts, but this is trying to be the new floor here on Tron. If you zoom in a little bit on the 4 hours, oversold. I think it's due for a bounce, or it's getting really close to getting very oversold. So I'd be watching this one. It's starting to accelerate to the downside. Usually that doesn't last for too long. And this one just seems to have some high volume bounces on the 1 hour. You can see it's already trying to put in a little bit of a bear flag, trying to round a base here, but could see a little bit of bounce. So I'd be watching this one for maybe a shorter term type of thing is how I would approach this. Longer term, I don't think it's ready longer term. There's yet, at least not yet. There's really nothing strong about this base yet. It needs more time, or it needs to really start convincingly turning the corner here. But near term, I think we could see a pretty decent bounce on this one. All right. Let me do a few more here, guys, with you, and appreciate everybody joining. So, like I said, 10K, the 10K party. We're going to do some giveaways, doing some Litecoin. I've got the addresses here. I will pick out a few, and let's see here. Let's do one more before I wrap this up. Let's do Dash giveaway. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to send some Dash out to a few people. So if you want some Dash, go ahead and post it. I'm going to randomly select a few names, and then we'll go from there. All right, so let me go here. Let's do some more while you guys do that. Monero here. Monero is looking pretty good here. So Monero, let me zoom out here. Monero daily chart has been sitting really tight, really setting up here. Let me go to Bitfinex here. So Monero's daily versus BTC sitting really tight. USD side looking much stronger here. Has been kind of rallying. Same pattern, right, that we're seeing in a lot of these names, but I'm really liking Monero here. Again, this one, like BTC, is starting to bump into this floor. So you got to be cautious of that. We've already come off the lows by a pretty decent amount, right? This one is 93% off of the lows. And so got to keep an eye on that one there. But I like it. I like Monero. When it comes to the privacy coins, all around, this is probably my top pick. But I'm also a big fan of Zcash. And so let's take a look at Zcash. All right, so let me see here. Zcash, again, not quite as strong as Monero, and kind of pulling in a little bit here. Had that good rally again versus BTC. Was an outperformer here early on, but near term, kind of showing a little bit of weakness, but RSI is already hitting some oversold, so maybe we find a low here. And you can see there was a little bit of a consolidation, a little bit of a base that formed right around there. And that may be the place where starts to find a good low on the daily chart. You know, it's kind of not as strong as Monero. I think between the two, I'd go with Monero. Verge. Yeah, let's take a look at Verge because Verge was one that was on my list here as a break in the downtrend, and it's tried. Oops, wrong coin. Here we go. And look at how narrow this has been getting here. I mean, it's just after that huge run late last year and just very choppy consolidation, just kind of really drifting lower. And it's starting to reach these longer term oversold conditions, near term, still pulling in. It's tried. I was looking at this one as a potential break of this downtrend and gave a good go here. You can see this is what I was looking at, the kind of the longer downtrend here. Started to go sideways, and then he gave us that little pop to the upside. And I was thinking that's a good downtrend. That also corresponded with some higher lows that were forming over a few days, but just fizzled out, just not holding up yet versus BTC. So you got to wait this one out. But if you look at the broader picture, right, the longer term, right, it's kind of near these lows. So maybe it's almost done. Maybe, just maybe, but it's, you got to wait for this thing to kind of really confirm on the daily chart. It's not there yet. Not versus BTC. Now, USD certainly is looking much stronger, but I think there's stronger names out there at this point. Okay, that's enough dash addresses. Oh, man. Walton. Virgin 1430. I think a lot of people did. Man, Walton's looking pretty good. I was looking at that one earlier. So on the and this one just kind of happens to correspond with the move we're seeing in Venn. But Walton, another name I like longer term. I think this one's good and was in a pretty decent consolidation. I remember Walton was one of the huge runners early this year, gave us this nice run up, and that was what from this low up that was 490%. So it just gave us this very good run. Had a pretty decent pullback, and here we are trying to break downtrend. Maybe it's finally done consolidating. What's the market cap on this one? I think Walton's still relatively small market cap, but I like this one. I think those looks good. Again, in this market right now, I still remain cautious, and so I'm not gonna chase some of these. I'm gonna look for secondary entries, maybe some pullbacks. But the trend has certainly changed. It's looking pretty good. On the 4 hours, you can see kind of rounded out a little bit of a base, and then volume really started to come in and it's starting to bounce here. But we're going to hit some resistance here near term on the 4 hour in and around this zone, and we're already basically there. So maybe a pullback would give us a nice secondary place to look at it, but it looks pretty good. The daily chart looks really good here. It's finally kind of clearing with some good volume. All right, let's see here. Couple more, ladies and gentlemen, and we will wrap this up. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give 4 people the LTC, and then I will give I'll give 2 people some dash, not a whole dash. So don't get mad at me when you don't get 1.0 dash. All right, that's a lot of dash. How much is dash these days? Let's see, dash. $700 almost. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I can't afford to give whole dashes out. Let's do ICX here real quick, and then we'll do a couple more. ICX and Cardano, and then we will wrap it up. All right. So ICX, one thing to keep in mind on this one, I think I mentioned this in my last live stream, potential for a little bit of a descending triangle pattern forming here. Really needs to turn the corner soon if it's going to break out of this. It's looking bearish near term. This is the daily chart. It needs to get above that moving average as well as the downtrend. Otherwise, the support level could give. And so far, other than this big volume pop to the upside, it's just kind of faded. Not a lot of follow through. And remember, I had that big run, and then the conference. This corresponded here with this time frame, and so it's just kind of fizzling out. Not longer term. I think ICX is a great project longer term. I'm just saying near term, it's just kind of giving up some of that. There was a little bit of the sell the news scenario going on. People were probably expecting a little bit too much in terms of announcements and partnerships and all that. So, but I think longer term, this is a great project. They've got a really good team. So you got to look at that. Omise Go. Okay, I'll go look at that right now. So this is what I'd be watching on ICX here. Over the next couple of days, we're going to find out. This is getting really close. So 3-4 days max. It could just start going sideways and flatten out and round out a base. That would be great. But the support level is what I'm watching on ICX. Let's see here. OMG. Man, we were just talking about it. There you go. That's a little wick I'm looking for on the daily. Touch the 10 EMA. Good secondary entry point. Let's see if it can follow through, but it's looking really good. I like OMG here. And Cardano. Time to be all in, not cautious. Maybe. And I'm, certainly not doing anything. I'm still leaning bullish all around, guys. So just so you know, I am not bearish. Don't get me wrong here. Again, I was hoping to see a lot more action out of this one following these two candles here. It looked like it was trying to put in a good low. Some volume was coming in. It was testing support. Just not a lot of follow through versus BTC. Not yet, at least. But I'm watching this one. Near term is starting to hit some oversold conditions again. And here at these lows, I'm starting to see really good volume patterns. So it's starting to show signs of accumulation here at these lows. And it's had a nice pullback. I mean, how far off are we now from the highs? We are 56% off the highs. The really strong support / base, if it continues to retrace, I don't think it will. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, that's going to be the area that it should hold. I mean, that's a really strong base. But, it had that huge run up the market cap list, went way up there really quick, and maybe it kind of got ahead of itself here. Longer term, they're doing some pretty good stuff there. I know it's still in development. I know they don't, it's not as far along as like Ethereum is or even Neo, but you got to pay attention to this one just because really good. I got high hopes for it too. I think it's going to be good longer term. So these are the type of things you pay attention to on these daily charts. When they start to form these longer bases, starts to get a little bit oversold. If you're a believer in these projects, this is when you start paying attention to them because they've had that big pullback, right? Much better to get in on a project after a big pullback like that than it is to get in when it's going crazy high. Now, this makes for some wonderful trading, but if you're doing a longer term hold, it's much higher risk after it's gone up 1,000%. So good pullback on this one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are wonderful. I appreciate you joining on this live stream, this 10K party we are having with the BTC here. Let's go back real quick. And so just remember what I said about Bitcoin, guys. I am not bearish. I just feel like I would rather see a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a pullback here following this nice run, and it's just healthy longer term. We'll just continue to set up some bases, but the near term level that I'm looking for on the upside, if we continue higher, once we start to approach the high 10Ks, maybe 11, this is the area I'm going to really be paying attention. And on the downside, first level around 9K, and then below that, 8 to 7,500 or so. And we'll have to see how these next few days play out. But all around, you guys got to pay attention, stay engaged. And, with these markets, it's not easy. It's emotional, but don't get too bearish and don't get too bullish, right? It's kind of one of those one day at a time, let the charts kind of paint the picture and go from there. So thank you for joining. I will leave this comment box open because as soon as I'm off the mic, I'm going to go through some addresses, and you will see that in the next 10 minutes or so. So thanks for joining, everybody. Till next time, take care.